Hey, I'm Alexi Eisen, and today I want to talk about getting stuck in certain songwriting habits. This happens to everyone, but I'm a metal musician, and so I want to talk about how it affects me and how it might affect you as well as a metal musician. But first, let's check this out. So that sounds okay, right? Actually, these are a couple of riffs that I basically play every single time I sit down to write something. To me, they're as unoriginal as it gets, even if they may work in a song or even stand on their own as fun and listenable. I'm sure you probably have a couple of riffs that you cycle into every song you write. Try to fit it in somewhere, you know? So the struggle is pretty simply described. Why can't I write another riff? The thing is, other people like my riffs, even the ones I know are recycled over years at this point. And it also turns out that I like these kinds of riffs too, from other writers. Let's check a couple of death riffs out for an example. These riffs are based on stacked fifths, and it's all over the sound of Perseverance. Instead of a hindrance and annoyance to the listener, though, it serves as a theme to the album almost. That these harmonized stacked fifths symbolize the literal sound of Perseverance. And Chuck probably didn't mean to do that. He probably just thought it sounded cool, and so he worked in as many variations as he could that would fill out the album. And this sort of thing is everywhere in metal music. Certain riffs become characteristics of not only albums, but of bands. Slayer is well known for slow build-ups and chugging on the low E, and Master of Puppets is full of Kirk hammering on that 7th fret of the A string for some really killer riffs, Battery, Leper Messiah, Damage Inc. I was watching an interview with Misha Mansour where he talked about the audience giving a musician the benefit of the doubt. And the idea was that as a listener, you have no clue whether something on the record is the way the artist intended it to be. Often you'll presume the artist envisioned the final product before it was even created, when in reality things just don't happen like that. Everyone is prone to relying on habits, and everyone certainly makes mistakes. Some of your favorite songs are throwaways, almost left on the cutting room floor. Some are products of a mistake somewhere in the process, or something someone else thought sounded cool even if the writer thought it was shit. My point here is, even though I don't really like the riffs I showed you earlier anymore, no one else knows that unless I tell them. If they're bad, that's a different story and a matter of taste, but my understanding of them should be irrelevant to the writing process. If I'm not including one of these riffs in a song that it absolutely should be in, that demands them, then I'm doing a disservice. If my bandmate asks for a riff or for a drum beat and I play some bullshit that doesn't make sense to me, it's possible for it to work out, but sticking with the reliable makes me feel more comfortable. Sometimes you don't need to write a new riff. Let's go back to the death examples. Notice how every time he incorporates variations of the stacked fifth, they're in different contexts, played in different positions, and harmonized differently. Often YouTubers will say that thrash writing is about jamming as many variations of a riff into a song as possible, and this may be true sometimes, but often it's about making variations of your bare-bones comfort riffs to make a song you want to hear and you want to play. There's a reason you play those riffs when you start a writing session. They're your riffs. Obviously, this doesn't preclude you from experimenting and certainly should not impede your creativity. You should still write another riff. In fact, when you do write another riff that you really like, keep playing it. See what comes from it and let it soak into you like the riffs you're recycling now. Maybe after a few months, someone will go, hey, that's a cool fucking riff. What if it went like instead, Creativity does not require a breach of your comfort or your repertoire. Of course, you should seek out new influences and new music to listen to, or whatever else. But don't forget, you don't always need to write another riff. It's normal if you can't, and you should just play the one you already wrote.